All right. Well, it's been quite the last 24 hours, hasn't it? Um, I almost don't even know where to start. Um, but I will start with this. Let's just address the elephant in the room first. Um, do I condone what Myles Garrett did last night? Absolutely not. Um, but, and let's just jump right into this to start. And I will talk about the game itself after I address this first. But I want to be clear on this. And I know this might sound insane to some of you, but listen to everything that I say here in this sentence. Don't flip out at first. Just listen to what I'm going to say. I will defend Myles Garrett all the way up to until he swung the helmet. Okay? Let's just soak that in there for a minute. Okay, let me explain myself. One thing that has been thrown under the carpet, swept away, and ignored through this whole situation is that it was started for a reason. All right? There's been people saying that Myles Garrett should be in jail. There's people saying, a bunch of different things. Myles Garrett has been suspended indefinitely by the NFL. He must go before the commissioner to seek to get back into the league and be allowed to play again. But here's the bottom line: as a Browns fan, and as somebody who over the last few years has gotten to know to an extent the kind of person that Myles Garrett is, this is not Myles Garrett. No matter what somebody tries to tell you, Myles Garrett is not a dirty player. He never has been, and I don't see him ever becoming an all dirty player. In fact, Browns fans have criticized Myles Garrett for not being more of a aggressive player. Not necessarily dirty, but more aggressive. So, with 5 seconds left to go in this game, a game that we should be talking about as the Browns dominate and embarrass the Pittsburgh Steelers instead flips to attempted freaking murder. I already told you I don't condone what Myles Garrett did, but that whole situation is not being reported 100% factually. All right. Um, First of all, ball was snapped. It was a little dump off pass to I think probably the running back. Um, and the ball was out of Mason Rudolph's hands well before Myles got there. So I don't think that Myles was confused. I don't think it was like he didn't think. I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't think that Myles thought that Mason had the football. I think Myles understood that that ball was already out. Um, he wrapped him up, tackled him, slammed him to the ground. Um, and then Mason Rudolph, and this is what's not being reported on ESPN and others. Um, Mason Rudolph goes and tries to rip the helmet off of Myles Garrett. And he did attempt or at least tried. I don't know if he exactly did hit, but he attempted to knee and or kick the groin of Myles Garrett. You can deny that all you want. It has happened. Go back and look at it. Look at it in slow motion. Zoom in. Clearly, there was an attempt. I know there's been excuses, but if you're a guy, just in general, if you're a guy and somebody comes for that area, that is a fight, like it or not. We can try to disguise this all we want. That is going to be a fight. Um, Myles Garrett is quite the opposite of what he's being called out as today. Myles Garrett is a typically a cool, calm, collective kind of guy. He's he's very methodical. He's a big thinker. He loves dinosaurs. He's not your typical college. He's not your typical NFL football player. All right. He's got more interests than just the NFL. He's not a cold-blooded killer, um, killer mentality when he's coming on that defensive line. He's not. He's never really been that. All right. Um, Myles Garrett in that moment after there was the attempt to pull the helmet off from Mason Rudolph, trying to pull Myles's off, the attempt or successful hit to the groin, Myles lost his mind. He grabbed the helmet, ripped it off, tore it off, pulled him up. Well, he pulled him up, tore his helmet off. There was a couple linemen from the Pittsburgh Steelers trying to separate him. Mason Rudolph, in his stupidity, was getting up in the face of Myles Garrett, trying to kind of get back in and stir the pot more, which I understand in the heat of the moment. I got it. And then Myles seemed to do something that was one of the craziest things I've ever seen on a football field. He swung a helmet and hit somebody on the head without any protection. To me, this is borderline attempted murder. Myles Garrett is a very lucky guy right now. He's lucky from the standpoint that that helmet was not flipped around. Because if that helmet was flipped around, Mason Rudolph could be dead. Dead. Could be paralyzed, could be in the hospital, could never walk again, could never talk again, wouldn't be able to live. He could have died on that football field. I'm not going to tell you I know exactly why it happened, but I will say this. I believe 100% that there was something more that caused Myles Garrett to do that. I don't know if something was said. I don't know if there was an action, but there had to have been something that set off Myles Garrett like that. And I believe it had to have come from Mason Rudolph because I don't think that Myles would have just out of the blue when you're blowing out your freaking rival 21-7. It should have been 35-3. The Steelers had nothing. They were horrible. And I know that might make some of y'all mad. It's just true. The Steelers had nothing. Freddie Kitchens tried his absolute best to give the Steelers that game. But we'll talk more about the game in a minute. So just from the standpoint of the whole Myles situation, I think something was said. I don't know if it was possibly an N-bomb. Obviously, that is something that would set off every single African-American human being, not just athlete. I don't know if somebody said that directed towards Myles Garrett. I don't know if somebody said something about his family or his mom. I don't know. I'm saying this out of pure speculation. Those answers have not been answered, and I don't know if they ever will be. But I got news for you. If you think that Myles Garrett just did this because he wanted to be a horrible person, that is not true. He's never done this. This is not who he is. Myles Garrett is a guy who's heavily involved with the community, with charity. He was kind of the poster boy of what, we wanted in Cleveland. A superstar athlete who kind of was, he kept to himself. He did his job. It's kind of what anybody would want. Something had to have happened. Freddie Kitchens was asked about this in his post-game press conference. Um, Asked about if Myles said that there was any specific thing that set him off. And Freddie responded, I don't have the exact quote, but Freddie did respond and said that's between me and Myles. I'm not going to give anything out on that. And like I said, I'm paraphrasing there, but to me, something had to have happened because I think Freddie Kitchens, if something didn't happen, I think Freddie would have just said, um, no, it was he got caught up in the heat of the moment or something like that, or his emotion took over. I think something was said. Um, and I think that's why Myles took that hit at the end when he threw Mason down, and then Mason retaliated, and Myles flipped. Like I said, it was a horrible thing that he did. I said that he should have been suspended the whole year. I think he should be suspended a couple games next year. This can't ever happen again. Primetime television could have had a NFL quarterback killed. That's just plain and simple. No matter how big this rivalry is, and I hate the Steelers, I always will. Um, that can't happen. No matter who it is, whether if it's Ohio State, Michigan, Steelers, Browns, you can't have that. I don't care how big of a rivalry it is. Death can't come as a factor based off of a situation in which you had control of it. Meaning you can't deliberately try to kill somebody. That's insane. It's insane. We shouldn't even be talking about it. That's how ridiculous this is. So yeah, something happened. I don't know what. I don't have any proof, but I know it wasn't just a coincidence that Myles flipped out this bad. And as far as the suspensions, Pouncey's been suspended, I believe, 3 games. Larry Ogunjobi's been suspended 1. Both teams have been fined, I think, $250,000, $250,000 each. The Browns released a statement on the issue. I don't know if the Steelers have yet. Mike Tomlin would not answer any questions on the whole issue. It's embarrassing to be even remotely a part of it. Frankly, it's a joke. I think that there's more going on here. And Pouncey doing what he did, I think he should be suspended, but it shouldn't be 3. I'd give him maybe 1. No matter what the backstory was, when you see your quarterback having somebody do that, I would expect you and hope you would do something similar to what he did. Now, maybe it was a little bit excessive with the kicks, but it wasn't something that it's not like it was unforgivable, like he shouldn't have done it and whatnot. He had reason. So now that that's all said and done, let's get into the game itself because these players deserve to be talked about. It was a great game as far as from the Cleveland side. What has the production been and the efficiency been? Baker Mayfield was 17 of 32, 139 or 193 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. Kareem Hunt, 27 rushes, 92 yards. Kareem Hunt had 6 touches. Receiving, Beckham led the team with 60 yards, 4 receptions. Kareem Hunt, 6 receptions, 46 yards. Landry, 4 for 43. And it goes on. So, offensively, the Browns looked a lot better. First half. We basically could do whatever we wanted. I did not think this is how that game would go. I thought that Steelers defense was for real. I thought they'd come to play. They were left in Pittsburgh. They did not do good at all. Now, I'm not saying they didn't try or they looked completely awful, but they looked inferior. Um, for a defense that's had a lot of talk, we look like we could do pretty much anything on them. And if we had a competent freaking head coach and a competent play caller, we could have hung over 30 points. Um, I think that score of that game, like I said earlier, should be a minimum of 35-3. Um, and no matter what any Steelers fan tries to tell you, we did dominate. Believe it or not, we did. That's just the truth. Um, Second half, it was rough to say the least. Started off slow, went conservative. We had guys just running around, being undisciplined. Um, Randall on the hit. It was just bad. It was a mess. Um, but it, it's frustrating because this should be talked about as Browns blow out the Steelers. Has not happened in how long? Guys had a great game. Beckham and freaking Baker finally looked like they had something. Um, but instead, this is overshadowed because of some BS with 5 seconds left to go. So that's my thoughts. I know there's a lot of people saying many different things on the situation. I would ask that before you go and say that it's all on Myles Garrett, go back, look at it in slow motion, and watch and look who instigated it. That's all I'm going to say. So, with that being said, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications. Let me know what you thought. Everybody's got an opinion on this situation, so just let me know. Thanks. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.